In 1986, an entire village in Cameroon went to sleep, and nobody woke up. There was no fire, no flooding, no sound. The village had gone to bed beside a quiet lake like any other night, but by morning, everybody was unalived. This is the true story of how a seemingly normal lake changed the entire community overnight, and why. Lake Nyos, a quiet circle of water in the highlands of Cameroon, a place that looked peaceful, ordinary, safe. To the people who lived nearby, it was just a part of the landscape, a source of water, a landmark, a familiar sight. Nothing about it felt threatening. On the evening of August 21st, 1986, families here prepared for sleep like they always had. Dinner was cooked, animals were secured, and the lights went out. It was a warm, quiet night. No alarms, no warnings, no reason to be concerned. But by dawn, not a single voice would be heard again. When neighboring villages woke the next morning, something felt wrong almost immediately. There was no smoke rising from cooking fires, no footsteps on the roads, and no voices carrying across the hills. As people approached, they found something no one could explain. Men in their beds, children on the floor, and animals in their stalls, all motionless. There were no signs of injury, no marks, no blood, no disturbance. Everything looked exactly as it had been the night before. At first, doctors suspected illness, or contaminated food, or a strange environmental exposure. But none of it fit. There was no pattern or warning signs. And then something else became clear. This hadn't only affected people. Livestock were still. Birds lay quiet. Even insects were gone from the ground. Whatever had passed through here had affected everything that breathed. And yet, there was no trace of it left behind. The explanation was not in the air above the villages. It was hidden far below the surface of the lake. Lake Nyos sits over a deep volcanic system beneath the Earth's crust. From that system, carbon dioxide is constantly released, not in bursts, but as a slow, invisible seep. Over years, then decades, that gas rises upwards and dissolves into the deepest layers of the lake. Slowly, the deepest water became saturated with gas. It wasn't dangerous because it was violent. It was dangerous because it was stable. Like a sealed bottle of carbonated drink, shaken but unopened, the system was hiding enormous energy in a quiet, invisible form. And then something changed. It may have been a landslide falling into the lake, or unusually heavy rainfall cooling the surface and mixing the layers, or a minor seismic shift beneath the ground. No one knows exactly what triggered it. But when the deep water was forced upward even slightly, the pressure around it dropped, and under lower pressure, the dissolved gas could no longer stay in the water. The gas was released all at once, not as an explosion, not as a fire, and not as a sound. Just an enormous silent release of carbon dioxide, rising through the lake, spreading across its surface, and spilling over its rim. Carbon dioxide is heavier than air. It doesn't rise into the sky, it flows. It pours downward into low places, it fills valleys, it pools in hollows, and those low places are where people live, where homes are built, where fields are planted, and where villages grow. As it moved, it pushed oxygen out of the air, and wherever oxygen was displaced, people didn't suffocate in panic. They lost consciousness quietly, and then they never woke up. In the years that followed, scientists realized that Lake Nyos was not an isolated anomaly. It was the visible example of a process that had been happening quietly in other places for centuries. Deep volcanic lakes can trap enormous amounts of dissolved gas beneath their surface, especially carbon dioxide released from magma far below the Earth's crust. At depth, the pressure keeps that gas locked in the water, invisible and stable. But as more gas accumulates, the system becomes increasingly fragile. To reduce that risk, engineers installed giant vertical pipes into Lake Nyos. These pipes allow deep water to rise slowly to the surface, where the pressure drops and gas can escape harmlessly into the atmosphere. It's a controlled release, a way of preventing the lake from ever building up enough pressure to erupt again. Today, the lake is constantly monitored. Sensors track its chemistry, satellites watch its surface, and early warning systems stand ready. But Nyos was only the first place where this danger was understood. There are dozens of deep volcanic crater lakes around the world that look just as peaceful and possess the potential to become even more deadly. Some are slowly filling with dissolved gases. Some are becoming more acidic by the year. And some are accumulating toxic materials that can turn lethal if disturbed. Lake Nyos, the lake that ended the lives of over 1,700 people in 1986, is less than 2 kilometers across. Lake Kivu, on the border of Rwanda and the Congo, covers more than 2,700 square kilometers and contains far more dissolved gas than Nyos ever did. More than 2 million people live along its shores. They cook beside it, they fish in it, and they raise their children next to it. In Indonesia, some crater lakes have become so acidic that nothing can live in them, yet villages remain only meters away. The danger isn't that these lakes are violent. The danger is that they are quiet. They change slowly, they give no warning, and when they finally release what they've been holding, it's already too late. The people living beside them are farmers, they are fishermen, families. They live where their parents lived, where their grandparents lived, and they stay, not because they don't understand the risk, but because leaving is harder than living with a danger you cannot see. The lake in Cameroon changed everything in a single night. These others are changing more slowly, but they are changing. And one day, they will reach the same point. If you want to keep exploring real stories that are hard to believe, you can subscribe below. More of them are on the way. And thank you for watching.